Dad, I suppose just to finish up, one of the last questions here is, one thing that really strikes me about all this is that there can be a real degree to which spirituality and our spiritual and even mystical experiences are such an individual experience. They're such an individual, subjective thing. So I wonder then, do you have any thoughts on how we can encourage discussion with others in terms of how can we get past maybe some of the judgment that we might perceive from others and feel comfortable to bring forward some of our own experiences?
Well, the first thing I think is being prepared to tell stories at times with trusted others. There might be closer friends or there might be family, but trusted others. If we get a sense that we can maybe open up a little bit more to people, if we have some deep and meaningful experience, there's something wonderful about sharing that with someone else. It adds to its depth and meaning, if you like, if it can be shared. So being prepared to share some of our stories. That's where I get back to the notion of synchronicity as one way of tapping into sacred experience. Myself and a number of others, what we're really on about is encouraging people to share their stories. But if people experience a spiritual dimension in life or soul dimension in whatever other way, share those stories. And so this now reminds me of a question that can help elicit also the deeper meaning in us. And it comes from David Cooper Ryder, who's another leader in the positive psychology field. And he described at one conference years ago how he'd love to get together a number of the world's spiritual leaders and he'd love to ask them a question. And I think we can all contemplate this question that he would ask the Dalai Lama and the other leaders. He said he was going to ask people, can you share a story of a moment or a period of time when clarity about your life purpose emerged for you? It might be when your calling happened, or it might be an important awakening or teaching, or a special experience or event, or when you received a guiding vision. I think that's a terrific way of getting at what Jung called numinous or transpersonal experience, and I think we can contemplate Cooper Ryder's question for ourselves.
Well, it's something that you can certainly give a lot of thought to, Dad. There's a lot, I think, that we can all go back and even have a think about our own individual belief systems and thoughts and everything to do with spirituality after today. But look, if there's one thing that really stands out to me, it's that, one I suppose common thread from a lot of religions is the idea that life is suffering in many ways and that there can be a lot about life that can be really tough. And it seems to me that part of a transcendent understanding, part of a transcendent belief system is that it allows us to connect with more than just what's immediately around us. In terms of, I think back to last year and I think of lockdown and, Dad, as you know, I live by myself. So there was elements of that period of time which was really tough. But also, on the other hand, there's an element to which that experience and going through that collective experience with everyone in the world went through lockdown. And now we're able to, I suppose, tap into something that we wouldn't have otherwise. And to me, that fosters a connection that wasn't there. And to me, that's what some of this spirituality stuff is about. Without it, it seems that there can be a real tendency to focus on the darker side of life, to focus on the things that might be immediately around us that are bringing us down in many ways. But to me, what spirituality suggests is that there's something out there that even if we're not able to see it right at that moment, that there is some positivity to look forward to tap into, to try and create for yourself and for those around you. Life's not just about suffering and life's not just about being in the dark. It's about where you can make the light in the dark. So to me, that's part of spirituality, is tapping into what's going to motivate you to be the light in the darkness.
I think that's very well put, Rowan, and it does strike me what you're describing as well, the notion of suffering being such a part of life, and yet there are things that make life worthwhile. And that's what a psychologist, Robert Lay, describes about where a tragic view of life can still be consistent with an optimistic approach to life in positive psychology. Bad things happen. I'm going to die, you're going to die, everyone's going to die. Now that's sort of challenging enough to consider. There's trauma that happens, there are difficult things that happen, and yet there are things that make life worthwhile. And the things that make life worthwhile for many people often involve a connection with ourselves at a more deep level, a connection with others using, say, Chris Peterson's maxim in positive psychology, other people matter. That's a spiritual statement. What he said, the most important thing, other people matter, our connection with others. And for many people, there's a sense of connection with something beyond ourselves, beyond our own minds. So connection with our deepest selves, connection with others, connection with something beyond. To me, that sums up what spirituality is about.